Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We are back. It has been probably 2 months since we've done one of these. Is that about right?
Yeah, it sounds right. I really miss these. I really enjoy these. By the way, guys, we love answering your questions. We love
Yes,
talking about the economy, and uh, man, we love just giving out information. I think some of the stuff that's really obvious. Maybe I don't know if
absolutely.
obvious is the right word, but like we're in it, we're immersed in it every day. It's great to get out this content to you. So anyway, we're excited to talk
It
to you.
is.
Sure.
And and here's the format, guys. Please put in any and all questions pertaining to either real estate or just the greater financial sector or district whatsoever. I want to make sure we're answering everybody's questions, and those who kind of go hand in hand right now, especially with between Wall Street and real estate. And we're gonna dive into some things going on with Opendoor, some things going on with Zillow. If you're not familiar with those companies, like Opendoor is a little bit larger of an unknown in Southeast Michigan, but they are here now, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But first, I want to get to a little bit of cleaning. I just put in the there we go. I just put in the chat the link to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Please just take a minute. Go ahead and do it right now. Copy and paste. Click the link, whatever that looks like. We drop great content every single week. Minimum 2 videos. We're going over the best brunch spots. We're going over what
Best
movie.
concerts in Metro
Yep,
Detroit.
concert Metro
Best coffee
Detroit.
shops. Yeah.
Yeah, what moving to a specific area like a Northville or a Novi or a Royal Oak or a Rochester looks like. Not only are we putting in things to do, but we're also talking about things like tax rates and things like housing and things that really affect your bottom line in those videos. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button and let's go.
Let's go.
All right, Austin, start us off. What do you want to talk about?
Dude, I think we got to talk about the jobs report.
Right? Is that the
Wow.
only thing? Okay, so jobs report, and we're gonna get there. I went to this restaurant last night. Okay, by the way, guys, I'm in Las Vegas for a real estate conference. It's called the Inman News Conference. It's the big periodical, the big journalist paper, I guess, because it's not really a paper. It's digital in real estate. It's not a broker specific. It's a broker agnostic conference. So we had brokerages from we have people from every single brokerage. We have people from tech firms, all of that, right? And interest rates, the job report were kind of the hot button topics. I had dinner last night. I just went out. I was here myself, talking to a gentleman named Doug. Doug's in the tech security space because right back to back with this conference, they've got DEF CON coming, which is a conference I've always wanted to go to and I've heard about. And he was telling me that there are going to be over 60,000 tech security people here across 3 different hotels, 3 different conference centers. It's the biggest one in the space. And he asked me what I did. And I said, real estate. And he said, dude, what happened with the jobs report? So I think as Americans, we're a little more keyed in. We're a little better educated around what some of this stuff means. And I really want to make sure that you're armed with this knowledge because the next 60 days specifically is going to look a lot different than it has in the past. It's going to look a lot different.
Yeah,
But
we're in
what do you thinking on
unprecedented
the job report?
territory. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you thinking on the job report, Austin?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what it is. I mean, people hear jobs report, jobs report, jobs report. By the way, good morning. Um, how do they put out the jobs report? What do they look at? Who does that, Mike?
It's what's the federal government? Good Lord, what is it? It's not the Fed. It's the other one. I forgot what the name of the entity is. Now I'm
Sorry to
blanking.
put you on the spot.
No. You're good. You're good. Department of Economic Labor.
There it is.
There it is.
And what they do is they go and they analyze. They analyze a lot of different things, right? But one of the things that they analyze is are we adding jobs or is the economy shedding jobs? And so what's interesting is this is a function of expectations. So for instance, if we expect the economy to add 200,000 jobs and they only add 150, that's a bad thing. On the flip side, if we're expecting them to add even 50,000 jobs and they add 100, it's a good thing, right? So it's a function of expectations. And so I don't know exactly what they expected, but we added, I think, over the last quarter, so over the last 90 days, correct?
Yeah.
Or last month, excuse me. This is last month.
Like this specific jobs report covered the month. The last one covered the quarter, but this one we gained 528,000 jobs, which is double the expectation of 258,000. And Austin, to your point, this thing's a double-bladed sword. So 2 things happen, right? So if we add jobs, it's a sign of a good economy, a sign of a strong economy, kind of a sign that we're not in a recession. And I know I'm using the R word, and I'm going to come back to it as well because we're going to talk about the GDP and the 2-quarter downturn. We're going to get to that and what that means. But the expectation was 258,000, which we doubled So what the immediate effect of this is, and we're going to see this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, is we're going to see a pop in stock, more specifically across our S&P 500, the top 500 stocks, the biggest 500 companies in the United States. We're going to see a temporary 1 to 3 point pop, which would be nice to have as an investor in a very short term.
Yep.
However, we did drop our unemployment rate from 3.6 to 3.5, which is good again, but we also have to remember there's a healthy unemployment rate as well. So 4
Yeah.
to 6% is considered full employment because there's still people that opt out of the economy, still people that opt out of working full time for a myriad of reasons, right? A myriad of reasons. Some people are just saying, you know what? I'm going to retire a couple of years earlier than I thought. I'm done. And we saw that coming out of COVID. And then a lot of those people ended up going back to work because things got really expensive. Some people said, I'm going to take a gap year because I just had my first kid and I really want to spend time with my kid. Actually, my sister's doing that, right? So she's not employed at the moment, but it doesn't necessarily mean she's unemployed and looking either.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's a fine point on that. So last month we saw, again, basically same thing. We saw 400,000 jobs added. We were expecting 250,000.
528. Sorry to correct you. 528.
No, 528 last month. The jobs report previous to that.
Correct. Sorry, Mike. Sorry.
You're good. Now, the net result of that is it allowed Jerome Powell to raise the interest rate by 0.75 basis points.
Yep.
Or 75 basis points, should I say, right?
Yep.
So here's where we're at. We've got next week coming out the inflation report, basically, right? Jobs report first, inflation report comes out closer to mid-month. So the jobs report looks really good. And here's the fear. We've got a whole bunch of Americans that are making good money, which is good because wages are still going up. Wage growth is on approach to 6% year over year. Not quite there, but it's getting there. When they go and they spend the money, they're going on to Amazon's and they're using the Prime button, like myself, because I'm using it way too much. There's probably 3 packages sitting at my door right now, even though I'm here in Vegas.
For sure.
And it's putting a strain because just a basic, simple rule of supply and demand, the demand keeps going up because people do have jobs and they are buying things. And we still have a little bit of COVID money left over in people's bank accounts, not the government so much, but people's bank accounts. And so that strain has caused the inflation rate to really jump. We were at 9.1% off last month. I think it's going to come down a little bit, but not enough, because here's the problem. The Fed meeting happens on September 27th.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 more, effectively, let's call it cycles of the 12 cycles, 2 more months for 2 things that need to happen for interest rates not to go up. One, we need a crappy jobs report.
Yeah.
Or at least something that is below, let's call it 300,000.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that's not going to stop Jerome Powell from raising the interest rates, but it will cause him to pause on raising them drastically. The second thing we need is that inflation report, not necessarily this next one, but the one after this, to come out with a much lower number than we've had. Now, this next job report, I do think is going to come out down. I don't see a number 9 in front of it, but I also don't see a number 7 in front of it.
You're talking about the inflation report.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the inflation report. Yeah. And here's the reason. If you look at the gas pump today versus 30 days ago, we're paying mid-4s instead of on approach to mid-5s.
Yeah.
Fair statement?
Yeah. Let me connect some dots. Ready?
Yeah.
So we've been hearing over and over and over recession. It's like everybody's getting hit. Everything's more expensive. They keep raising interest rates. You're seeing a slowdown in spending. You're seeing a slowdown in borrowing. You're seeing where the economy has gone down 2 consecutive quarters, which traditionally is a recession. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Traditionally.
The next dot to connect. So in everybody's mind, it's like, okay, now we're going to start to see slowdown in hiring, right? Because if companies aren't making as much money because of all that, it's like slowdowns on hiring and then slowing down in interest rates. And instead, what's happening is even though we saw 2 consecutive quarters of a small, it's not very much, it's small, but dip. So then the next dot to connect is, okay, what happened with the jobs report? Well, the job report was double what we thought, double. So our economy added 528,000 jobs. There's a 3.5% unemployment rate. That's below kind of a normal range, right?
Really way below.
Way below.
And I see a comment in there, and Suzette, you're right. People that had taken buyouts, and there are a lot of those that are going on right now. There are. I mean, under the radar, there are. I mean, there are 2 things kind of happening there, which I'll get into. But yes, people that take buyouts do not count against the unemployment report. They don't count. They don't balloon the unemployment rate until those buyouts have closed out. So the government tracks that and uses the number 12. So they're going to assume that all buyouts go for 12 months.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we might see this time next year or in the next
Yes.
kind of 6 to 12 months that adjust.
And I've got a couple of friends that have taken some buyouts more recently, just in the last 90 days. And that's what they're not employed, but they're also not unemployed because they're still technically, let's call it
Interesting.
drawing a check. Now
Interesting.
it's a lump sum, but it's a lump sum based on X amount of months of what their salary would have been had they stayed.
Yeah.
And so that's to your point. What they're trying to do is lower their average cost per person on payroll, because there are some people that have been in companies for 20, 25, 30 years. They're very expensive, and they're trying to get rid of some of that legacy cost and bring in newer hires, newer talent that they can get a lot less expensive because they don't have that 20-year experience. They might have a 4-year experience.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're less expensive. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And very quietly, I'm seeing General Motors do this, Ford do this, and a lot of smaller shops as well, trying to figure out a way to cut some costs. And this is one of them. And this is a
Cut
very
legacy costs too. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's right
And cut
around
legacy.
here we get legacy costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so yeah, it's a great point. I didn't know that, Mike. Great information. And so if we've got low unemployment rate, we've got the economy continues to add jobs, and everywhere it's like that means that wages have to go up, because if you need workers and wages have to go up. So even though we've got supply chain issues and we've got international issues and all these things tying into, and it's creating a rise in inflation, gas prices, grocery prices. I don't have to tell you, you know, you look at your credit card bill every month, right? Or whatever. And so a lower jobs report would seemingly think like, okay, that's starting to slow down. And in reality, it feels like maybe there's a potential for it to speed up. Now, the interesting part is, so what Mike is connecting the dots with is now we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen with interest rates in the next, 45 days when they come out with the inflation report on September 27th. And so we've been humming along at like this 9.2 clip, and I think before it was like 8.4 or something like that, right? It's like we've been in this kind of 8 to 9 range for a while. And so your feeling is, even though we've got this increase in job report, your feeling is that as it ties to interest rates, that on September 27th, we're going to see, even though it might be a 7% number or an 8% number, but it's going to come down. That's what you're thinking?
I'm hoping it comes down. And right now we've got one of the major things that hits the inflation rate.
Yeah.
So the inflation rate is comprised of a couple of different things. It's a whole basket of goods and services that an average family will use over an average month, right?
Yeah.
So a large part of that's the energy sector, housing costs, groceries, those types of things.
Yeah.
So the energy cost is one of the top 4 things that goes into deciding, okay, what is the current inflation rate, right? As it should. And with the gas prices jumping, and not just gas prices, but natural gas as well, and electricity jumping so high between, let's call it January 1st and June 30th, that alone pushed that inflation rate way up, right?
Yeah.
Used car prices pushed inflation rate, and new car prices for that matter, pushed inflation rate way up, right?
Yeah.
Now, energy costs have started coming down.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Yep. And simply put, what you pay at the pump has started coming down.
Yep.
Right. And by the way, there's an app that I use called My Gas Finder.
You really?
Really weird, but I'm so cheap. And we gotta be responsible, guys. We gotta save every penny. So there's like 9 or 10 gas stations around my house, let's call it, within let's say a mile or 2-mile radius or whatever it is. And the once a week or twice a week, because I really try not to drive right now, that I've got to go fill up the tank. I pop open the app, and then it tells me what the prices are as reported by other users almost in real time. Like within the last hour, 2 hours is where we're at here in Southeast Michigan, because there are a lot of people using that app. And a lot of times I'm finding like that Sunoco over there, which I usually wouldn't go to, because it's just like one road, not even like a mile, like 0.2 of a mile further out of my way. I can save like 15 cents a gallon. Like it's a real saving.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then Costco gas, of course, is a real savings. If you got a Costco membership, you are not taking advantage of it. So, yeah, which is interesting, because one of the accountants that I've been talking to recently, because I'm really trying to up my knowledge around accounting and up my knowledge around taxes and kind of demystify that, which I'm going to do report outs on this thing as well to help you guys out.
Cool.
He would not use Costco until recently, because he's self-employed. He owns a business, and he's like, yeah, I could save 15 cents or 20 cents a gallon there. but I had to use cash or a debit card, and that didn't link
Mm.
easy enough to my assistant being able to pull those numbers. So it was worth it for me to go to a regular gas station and pay a little bit more because I get the tax write-off, because it's easier for me to get. I'm like, man, 15 cents is 15 cents. That's a lot of money right now. Like, I don't know if I'm just cheap or I'm just getting old in my old age. But here's where we're going. I believe Jerome Powell is going to raise the Fed rates another 0.75 to 1.25. It's going to be one of, if not the most aggressive raises this year. He's already raised it 0.75 twice. I think we see a 1.25, upwards of a 1.25 in September. Now, what this means to your average American, you and me,
think they're going to hit us with 1.25 in September?
I don't think it's out of the question. I think if we have a strong jobs report and then we have an inflation number that starts with an 8 and not a 7, we could go 1 or 1.25. It will not be a 0.75.
Because again, they're going to raise interest rates to slow things down. Yeah.
Yep. Because what do we have right after September? We have the beginning of the holiday shopping season,
which is when we all spend money. Sure.
Yep. Where Americans' retail spending goes way up. It actually increases around 14% versus other times of the year, like a spring or a summer, because we're getting the kids those Christmas gifts. And we're getting mom the scarf. We're getting dad the hat. We're doing whatever it is that we're doing. But as the retail spending goes up, that's going to put more pressure on inflation. So Jerome's going to, he's not going to be the Grinch, right? He's not going to sneak into your house and take your Christmas tree, but he's going to do what he can to do that. I'm not even kidding. Like I'm picturing Jerome Powell dressed up as the Grinch right now, coming down the chimney. I can hear the music, I'm feeling the Dr. Seussness coming out of him saying, what can I do? Like,
I don't think it's the first time Joe Burrow has been called the Grinch in his life.
Well, yeah. He's going to be the guy that stole Christmas this year. That's where we're going with it. But the other place that we're going with this is twofold. One, that means that interest rates across the board are going to be hit, right? Yeah. So what does this mean? For me, as a real estate investor, I'm going to put my investor hat on, right? I've got 2 properties right now that are very, very high equity. I'm looking at putting HELOCs on those properties now, because I don't know how mortgageable I will even be in the future, let alone what those rates are going to be, right? Yeah. I'm concerned that for 2 reasons. One, what if I don't have enough runway? Because we may see some reasonable real estate deals come up, and as an investor, I want to take advantage of that, right? We may see I need a little more runway when a good deal comes up to be able to take advantage of that deal. Yeah. Right. Which I need to do for tax purposes, of course, right. As well as wealth building. And guys, I'm going to put this out there. Shameless plug. Austin and I both invest in real estate, and we also invest in the greater financial markets, the stock market, mutuals, ETFs. Please give us a call. We are not by any stretch of the imagination financial planners, but we have a very wide knowledge of the financial planning tools that are out there, and we're not going to try to sell you something. So here's one of the issues with financial planners. A good financial planner, right? They usually get paid on the back end for the stocks and the mutuals. Well, yeah, stocks, mutuals, and ETFs that you purchase. They get a spiff every quarter or every 6 months that you hold those. So there are right now financial planners, and they're good. They're not poorly directing Americans, but they are directing them a little more towards things that could pay them a little more, right? Like the S&P 500 is not a fund. But there are several dozen, let's call it, funds that track against the S&P 500. Some of them have a higher monthly cost or a yearly cost. Some of them have a lower monthly cost or yearly cost, right? Sure. And that's something, again, please give us a call, because I've got the lowest 6 costs that are the best performers over the last 30 years in that space. Happy to share that information. Now, back on track. A great financial person will say, you know what? I'm not that worried about the back end. I want to make this guy as much money as I can because I'm in this for the long haul, just like he is. A 30-year client is worth way more than a 2-year client in that space. Yep. Right. So if you're looking for a good financial planner, we do have some recommendations. Reach out privately. We'll be happy to share those. Number one. Number two, if you have a financial planner and you want to take a look at the mutuals and the ETFs that we recommend at this moment, again, give us a call. I'm more than happy to have that conversation. And then third, if you're thinking about going to get a financial planner, I would recommend getting that list of mutual stocks and ETFs. Shoot us something in the comment or DM me directly. I will give you that, because then you can go and ask the person, hey, what are your top couple funds right now if I'm in this for the long term? And if they're not saying those names, then those are expensive funds, not cheap funds. Yep. Right? One man's opinion. One man who shopped for financial planners in the past who did it wrong, and then later on in life did it right. Opinion. That's all I'm
Yep.
putting out there. So mortgages are going to
So
go.
if they raise rates by 1.25,
Yep.
what does that mean?
We're going to see an interest rate, an effective interest rate in real estate of 6.25.
So you think mortgage interest rates will bump to 6.25?
I do. I do.
Okay.
We've had a little bit of reprieve here in the last week, thank God. But we'll talk about that. But I think we're going to see a 6.25 interest rate. And I think if we see anything that starts with a 6 and not a 5, I think we're going to see real estate prices go down 2 to 4%.
Yeah.
Now, if it gets to a 7, that's a whole different conversation.
Pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to pause right there, because I think a lot of us are still like shell shocked from what happened 15 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Like or whatever, 2009, whatever.
Yep.
2009, when we saw depletion of real estate by 30 and 40 and 50%. It's like, here's what's happening. Even if we see this bump in rates, it's like, I was talking to somebody about this, Mike. If you listed a $300,000 home 6 months ago, you might have gotten multiple offers and gotten 3.25 for it. Now
Yeah.
you list a $300,000 home and you might just get 300 for it, or you might get 290 or 295. It's not like, it's like, in even if we see interest rates bump up, what you're saying is like, it's like you're still okay. 2 to 4%, it's like whatever. If you look at your stock account, by the way, the market corrects by what, 10% on average once every 18 months.
Yep.
Real estate is not even close to that, by the way. We
It is
very, very rarely have 10% corrections ever, right? It's like they're historical events when it happens. And so sometimes people get it, I'm going to time the market, or I'm gun shy about selling my home or whatever. It's like, even if we see this giant bump, you're talking 2 to 4%, even 5%. It's just not 15 grand on 300,000 is not going to make or break somebody selling a home or buying a home, is kind of the point. Anyway, even though as a buyer, you might be able to negotiate something for $20,000 or $30,000 less than you could 6 months ago. It's not make or break on either side. Does that make sense, Mike?
That makes perfect sense.
So anyway, I just want to create context around that statement. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Typing a couple of comments I want to put out there as well.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay,
So this is to your point. This is not 2008. This not only does this feel different, because it does feel different.
it does.
It does feel different. This is actually fundamentally different, and we'll get to how we got here too. I think that's an important history lesson a little bit. So, number one, currently we have under 3% of homes that are underwater.
3%.
Under 3%.
That's it.
That are currently underwater.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. Homeowners have more equity today than any time in U.S. history.
Holy cow.
And I forgot the exact number. I heard it on stage from an economist, and I was like, whoa. Like it was like a 25 trillion worth of equity or whatever that number was. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. I just remember listening to the guy and looking at the slides, and I was like, holy heck, that's a bigger number than I would have expected. And the journalist / economist that did a great report on that is Michael Del Prete.
Well,
For more, and he does put it in a nice fun context as well. Google him. He's a great guy. I had the chance to shake his hand and actually ask him a couple of future pacing questions, and he had some really, really great insight. Second, only 0.5% of homeowners are in some sort of a distress, meaning only 0.5% has missed one or more payments. One or more payments. People can forget to mail a check. I mean, literally, like if I've seen a lot of people do it. I've done it myself, where especially because there's so many bills that come out between the business expenses and the personal expenses, where I get a call on the 16th or 18th or something. I'm like, oh shoot, I did forget to log into that one account and make that payment.
Yeah, sure.
Right now, granted, I put everything on auto payment now, thank God, because I don't want my credit score hit in any negative fashion. But 0.5%, that's it, guys. That's it. A year ago, it was 1.5%. It's been trending down, not up. Right?
Yeah.
To put this into context, in 2008, 15% of owners, 1 in 8 homeowners were in some sort of distress.
1 in
To put it
8.
into context, the as far as homes underwater goes, when we started the recession in 2008, 11% of homes were underwater, and at one point in time, 40%. That's different than 3. The reason why it was 11% back then is because there were deals, there were mortgages that were like, buy this home at 100% with 0 down, and we'll give you a check for 20 grand at closing, which means you're instantly negative equity.
Yeah.
Makes no sense
Yeah.
at all. But it's what happened. It was the Wild West. It was
It
so
was
good.
the Wild West.
It was a Wild West.
Yeah.
God, it was terrible. And the run up to that was just a lot of 20 years of bad financial policy, 30 years of bad financial policy that just kind of all culminated. And then number 3, wages are rising. They're not rising as fast as they should, as fast as we'd like, and it doesn't feel like it because everything's getting more expensive. I literally am limited to 1 Starbucks today because I need it. Like I'm a coffee junkie, you know that, Austin. But like I would usually get like 2 or even 3 of these, and then the lady was like, "Dude, it's gonna be $6." I'm like, "What? Like, come on, really? Like $6 for this?" Or I mean, and this isn't like a caramel frapple acanado thing. This is black
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
This is black. Can't see it. Drink a lot of it. Black coffee. $6 for what? Are you? Do you know what the per cup cost is on Folgers? It is not $6. I can go for a full month on a can of Folgers or a thing of Folgers. God, it feels so crotchety right now. God, it feels so crotchety. So this is different. This is different. And we got to comment on there on what the effect is. This is a good one. What the effect is going to be on local real estate with the 25% reductions in salaries at Ford. And I'm gonna be completely candid. No effect. No effect. And here's why. Right now, those people that are getting affected by those 25% reductions, these guys all have interest rates on their houses at 2.75 or 3%.
Yeah.
Right now, these guys have 20, 30, 40% equity. Right? Like their payments are so darn cheap on their house. They're just not going anywhere because the alternative is, let's say they do have to sell their house. What are they going to do next? They got to live somewhere. They're going to rent, and rents are up 35% in the last 2 years in Metro Detroit. 35%. And guys, again, I'm going to tell you, I say this on every one of these things. If you're a renter, call wherever you're renting or around it, at least similar properties, and just say, hey, what are rents right now for this apartment complex? Hey, go on to apartments.com and take a look, and go on to rent.com and take a look at what's around you right now. And I guarantee you, if you rented anytime 6 months or before, if you have less than 6 months left on that lease, let's just say, your rents are going up, guys. Right? Now, it's said, right now we've got an effective interest rate of about 5%, which is not terrible historically. It sucks. Yeah. I mean, it sucks compared to what it was over the last 18 months or 24 months. But historically speaking, interest rates have been average around 7 to 8% hovering in the United States for the last 30, 40 years. So yeah, so it feels like it sucks, even though it's actually not the worst thing in the world. So again, recommendation, guys, if you are a renter, go become a homeowner sooner rather than later. Okay?
Here's what's interesting is, so we do a lot of chatting. You're at the conference. You're at a national conference right now, and so you've been doing a lot of networking, and we do a bunch of networking with people all over the country. And what we're experiencing is, like, if you look at the coasts, if you look at East Coast, if you look at particularly West Coast, Arizona, California, that kind of thing, like they've seen some corrections. Some of those overinflated markets have seen some corrections.
Oh, let's talk about that.
We just haven't experienced it here in Michigan. And what's interesting is when you look at our home prices based on income, and if you look at our affordability rates, if you look at our influx versus outflux of people moving, like the truth is that we got a lot of runway here in Michigan. People are net coming here, which you got to remember, there was a giant outflow in the early 2000s.
Yep.
They called it the brain drain. Remember that? The brain drain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a net inflow now into Michigan.
Mm-hmm. There's a net inflow. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
So let's you said a real estate market that was overly on fire. The one that always comes to mind is Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, great.
Average home price there 4 years ago was $250. Today it's $600.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And now we're seeing 25% of the homes are regularly being price reduced every single month. And I was talking to a gentleman that was from Boise that's a bigger team leader. And then also, again, diving in, Mike Del Prete has some really good information on the statistics around this. And here's what's happening in Boise. It got so overinflated by Californians. Californication, I don't know, by people from California. It got so overinflated so quickly because people from like Sacramento were saying, forget this traffic, I want to go somewhere like Boise or Arizona or anywhere else, right? And now all of a sudden the market's kind of stopped. Now it hasn't stopped. It feels like it does. They're still seeing 80% of the home sales as they did in 2021, but that 20% that they're chopping off is enough. But here's the second thing that's happening in Metro Detroit that has not happened before, which is going to buoy home prices. Right back to your question, Suzette, because nothing exists in a silo, guys.
Right.
We don't exist in a silo. So Ford Motor chopping some people 20 or 25% or even 30%. That doesn't happen in a silo. That's one sliver of a piece of an economy, but there's also some other stuff. So we saw in the news the other day, and this was huge, and this just I mean, it was like shouting up and down the hallway here because, you know, I mean, it was earning reports week last week. We saw Zillow had a positive earning report, not much. Their stock still sucks. It's still down 70% year over year. But what we did see was Opendoor has now partnered with Zillow.
Yeah.
Now, here's what this looks like. So Opendoor is a company. It just got to Michigan, okay, like 6 months ago, and it started buying homes 4 months ago. You're going to see those blue signs in some neighborhoods very, very soon coming to a place near you. Now, here's what Opendoor does. Opendoor's value proposition is, hey, Austin, how much does it suck to clean up your house and show it?
Sucks, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll just go ahead and make you a reasonable cash offer right now in your house. You can move out anywhere up to 90 days later. So you can go find something and you got cash in pocket. We're good.
Yep.
How's that sound, man?
Great.
Awesome.
Send me the offer.
Let's do it. Now, two issues with this. One, and Opendoor is in our market, right? Two issues with this. And I'm going to pivot into a third thing. Opendoor has been shown to make offers about 91% of value. Okay.
Yep.
So if your home is worth $100,000, they're going to make you an offer about 91,000, right? Which is not that bad considering, let's call it, using a real estate agent to sell the property.
Yeah,
Okay?
or a $300,000 home, they're writing you an offer at 270. Yep.
Yeah. And when you're considering a real estate agent, okay, there's a 12, let's call it a 12 grand delta between the 270 and the 282 using an agent versus not, right? But then they're going to come back and beat you up hard on repairs, right? Their average takedown is a little bit north of 5%. So now it's not a 270 offer. Now it's a 255 offer, give or take a little bit.
Yep.
And that 255 to 282, now that is a big difference. And me personally, $27,000, I mean, man, I don't have kids. You got kids. But if I wrote you a check today for $27,000, would you hire somebody to clean, hire somebody to paint the house, and go to a hotel for a weekend so you can get the home sold and accommodate those showings? If I handed you a check for $27,000, would you do that?
I would do that for a much smaller check than that, Mike.
Yeah. So everybody listening, you start seeing those Opendoor advertisements and you start seeing those billboards because they're big on that, and you start getting those mailers. You know, they right now, Axios is a publication that I read every day, almost every day. It's an email newsletter. They've got national and local ones. They're actively advertising in Metro Detroit in that newsletter, trying to start the cycle of being a business. So Zillow was what we call an iBuyer, like an Opendoor or an OfferPad or some of these other guys, where they're coming in and they're from Wall Street. They've got a lot of venture capital money and they're picking up these houses, right? And effectively, they're doing one of two things. They're either flipping it, and they want good houses where they don't have to do a ton of work. They're doing like 20,000 on average, a little bit north of 20,000 on average of work between the flooring, the carpet, all that stuff. And then they put it right back on the market, and they're looking to make. Opendoor is targeting a $1,000 profit per house, right? Which is also versus a traditional flipper, like the guy down the road who can do like one home at a time, right? He needs or she needs 20 or 30,000 per house because they're only doing like 4 a year. 3 a year, 5 a year, whatever that number is, right? Opendoor, they're doing 30,000 houses a month now. You only need about $1,000 in profit to make that thing scale.
Yep.
Right. And they're targeting to get up to 100,000 houses a month. That's a big number, guys.
Yep.
So Zillow got into the iBuying space. They thought their future was in real estate ownership, not tech. And they were wrong. Clearly, look at their stock price. They were so wrong. They lost $500 million on this venture, on this 18-month venture. That's all it was.
It's so wild.
But
We
what they
talked to our Zillow rep. He just looks like white in the face. He's just like,
yeah,
oh my God, the stock.
yeah. But then what happened was Opendoor figured out how to make it profitable. Not insanely profitable, but they did post a profit last quarter. The only difference is they need a bigger inflow of people that are coming to them asking for quotes, which lead to them buying homes. So now Zillow has created the space where they've got the tech where people are going to Zillow. I mean, 50 million hits a month. 50 million times. Yes, I go to Zillow 5 times a week. So take that with a grain of salt.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
I'm 20 of the 50 million,
It's
right?
good.
But 50 million people are actively using Zillow every single month. And then Zillow said, great, I can monetize that portion of it because I really am a tech company, not a real estate company. And Opendoor, you can monetize your portion of it. So Zillow has sold to Opendoor through a multi-year contract, a 3-year contract, where anybody that goes in, you can go on Zillow right now and you can see it, and says, I want an offer for my home, you're getting a contact from Opendoor with a bid. There's an issue with this.
What happened?
$62 million. So the FTC recently fined Opendoor $62 million.
$62 million.
And here's what the FTC found, the Federal Trade Commission, that Opendoor, they were telling people that their offers were very close to value. They were telling people that, hey, here's the actual value of your house. Here's my offer. Here's what the repair cost is, because these are the estimates based on our data. And what the FTC found when they explored it, they found that Opendoor was actively taking advantage of people, both on the sales price side. So, Austin, your house of in this example of 300,000, where Opendoor is going to come in at 270, and then they're going to beat you down to 255. It didn't actually start at 300,000. The FTC found it started at 315 or 320. So it's not a delta of $27,000 difference. It's a $42,000 to $47,000 difference in your pocket.
Yeah.
They also found that they were inflating the costs of repair.
Yeah.
So if they said, hey, an electrician can come out and fix this thing, the over-circuited fuse box, it's going to cost $2,500. That's not true. It was $1,500.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the FTC found that yes, if you call 5 electricians, you're going to get different rates. But they found that they were still going above and beyond in trying to charge. They were misrepresenting what those 5 electricians would actually have charged.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
It's a problem.
Here's the problem with it, because we've got, for the first time ever, at the highest level ever, and again, here's the kind of the capstone as to why home values are not going to drop any significant number, at least here in Metro Detroit. In some other parts of the country they will, but not Metro Detroit. Because for the first time, as of 3 years ago, for the first time ever, we've got Wall Street going to buy Main Street.
Wall Street going to buy Main Street.
Institutional investors are way up. I'm not kidding. Like right now, 1 in 18 homes in the US is owned by an institutional investor. Yeah. And what institutional investors mean is like BlackRock, right? Yeah. They're a national firm. They go in and their goal is to buy $4 billion of American real estate over the next 24 months because they just turn them into rentals.
Yeah.
And America's slowly turning into a land of renters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very actually similar. I've heard a comparison. It's very similar to what they've done in Europe. It's like there's far more renters in Europe than what we have here. And actually, for a developed nation, we have relatively low cost of home ownership.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people can't afford to buy homes. It's just they're priced out. You see it a lot in like Toronto too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in Toronto,
you gotta rent.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's be real, guys. Toronto is $1 million market at this point. Like the average price of a property in Toronto is about $1 million and holding. Wow. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, Austin, there's no flipping way I'm buying a house at $1 million.
No.
Come on.
I know we're so spoiled here. We really are.
No, that's true. Yeah. And
we really are.
And it's interesting because we're hitting this spot where the wage growth is not matching the real estate growth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the economy right now, right? Just the average person. So I think what we're going to see is just a little bit of a pause for the next 8 months of real estate. We might see certain communities move down in value 2 to 4%. If you want to know more about those predictions, I've got a whole data chart and table. Reach out to me, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to have that conversation depending on what you're either in or looking at. But here's the other side of it. So Jerome Powell's going to steal Christmas. I'm going to tell you, man.
I love it so much.
I think
a T-shirt. Jerome Powell's trying to steal Christmas.
But I think he's got his board shorts on. I think he's ready to go to the pool. I think this guy is ready for a rockin' summer in 2023 as far as real estate is concerned. Like he's gonna go surfing. He's gonna do all the things, right? We're gonna look at him and be like, dude, you're doing too much. What is happening?
Yeah.
You need to slow down because he's gonna jack the rates over this winter to slow our economy, and he's taking our economy to a breaking point. He is. And we're seeing this with the GDP. We'll talk about that. We're seeing this with the GDP. So that only means that as soon as he gets inflation under some modicum of control, he has to drop the rates to keep the economy moving forward so we don't go into a recession permanently. Like we are literally on the precipice of what could be a very, very bad recession. And we've got one thing that's holding us back from the preface, and that's that interest rates are below the 30-year average. I think if we hit anywhere near the 30-year average, if we start seeing 6s or 7s on the interest rate side, we're going to go into full-on recession, number one. And number two, again, no matter what happens, he's going to have to drop those rates like a rock next year, mid-year,
to speed it back up.
Move this thing forward, right?
By the way, all predictions
Oh
guaranteed to be wrong, or your money back.
Thanks, Cody. I'll tell. Oh my God, I just got called out for being a millennial. I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I'm only a millennial by like 6 months. Austin's generation X, so he can bring that into it. Sorry, man.
I'm not quite that grumpy.
Yeah. Well, and Austin and I are born 2 weeks apart. Just putting that one out there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I did. And thank you, Cody, for the ability to the opportunity to say that Austin's of a different generation. I appreciate that. That's fun. So GDP is down 0.9%. We got 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, right? The gross domestic product.
But kind of barely.
Yeah, barely.
0.9 is, I mean, it's significant, but it's not like.
Now, okay, it is significant. Well, yeah, and you're right. And to the effect, think of it, 0.9. If you walk into a Best Buy right now and they're like, hey, we're doing a sale, 0.9% off this refrigerator. Are you buying a new fridge?
No.
Right. Now, if they said, hey, we're going to do 0.9% of the GDP as the next Powerball, are we excited? Yeah, that's national news. This is 20 times what the last Powerball was, right?
Talking trillions of dollars here. Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
All right, Cody. All right, you two. Whatever love fest is going on between you and Cody, knock it off.
All right. Fair enough.
I love board shorts.
So we've had two quarters now of negative growth, which is technically a recession. So yes, we're technically in a recession, so to speak. Yet we still have jobs being added. We still have costs going up, which are typically things that are not seen in a recession. Typically, when a normal recession is basically 2 different things happening at the same time. We have job growth going negative, right? And then we also have deflation instead of inflation on goods because people can afford less. Simple enough. I mean, that's it. That's how we get to a negative GDP. That's it. And we're seeing the opposite of those 2 indicators, right? What we're seeing is the inflation. Okay. All right, kids, gather around the fire. Here's where we're going.
I want the big marshmallows.
Big marshmallows. This is the effect of what's called modern monetary theory, MMT, right? So we have shifted in the United States off of Keynesian economics, right, into modern theory, right? Here's what this means in a nutshell. There is a belief by a bunch of economists that it doesn't matter what kind of debt specifically an industrialized nation can ratchet up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They can effectively print as much money as they want to or need to keep their economy going.
Yep.
It actually doesn't matter. They don't have to pay anybody back. So we had COVID hit, and this is not a political statement. These are facts. because it's both presidents on both sides of the aisle that did this one thing. They put a total of $5 trillion. Literally, they turned on a printing press and they actually started printing money and adding currency to the economy. End result, $5 trillion was added to the economy. A large portion of that went straight to your everyday people, right? We all got those checks. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay. Then we all sat on those checks for a minute because we couldn't go out and eat. We couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And then we bum rushed the economy. We had manufacturers, and we had on the one side saying, you know what, I'm gonna slow down my production because the economy is going to tank. Right? We saw that more specifically. The best case of that was lumber. Lumber mills literally shut down for 6 months, thinking that that there would not be a demand there. That was 2000. That was the end of 2020.
Yeah.
The next 6 months of 2021, we saw lumber prices almost triple.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even that great of a huge demand pickup for lumber. It's just that we had 6 months of no supplies.
Stopped making it.
Yeah. Right? So this modern monetary theory says we can print money as needed as a government and put it all into the economy. Now, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, this is actually the first time we've tested this 70-year-old theory.
Yeah.
Right? And we've got two presidents that did exactly that. They thought, okay, we're going to try this theory of economics instead of the other one. Now, it's commonly recognized in the economic circles that the only thing that can prove or disprove this theory is inflation, or stop this theory, so to speak. And that's where we're at. So we're at a point where the government printed a bunch of money, put it all into the economy, gave it to just you and me, and then we went out, we bum rushed the economy, we spent a whole bunch of money. So the inflation rate went up, and now we're saying, okay, we have to stop the printing presses. That's where we're at. That's it. That is what happened, right? It's really interesting when you start getting into that level of economics and what that actually looks like. Inflation has become the new throttle of an economy, so to speak. Right?
Yep.
Now, here's the problem with this theory, or at least the problem that I see with this theory. So we gave a whole bunch of people 1 or 2 or 3 time payments, but it's not ongoing. It didn't add to their wages.
Yeah.
Right? So the average American, let's just say, got $3,000 or $4,000 from the government over COVID, right? That money stopped, right? So we didn't take the average American that earns $61,000 a year and put him at 64. That's not what happened. Right? We did not teach a man to fish. We gave a man a fish. Right?
Yep.
That's where we're at. Now that COVID money is run through, but it's still out there in circulation, we're seeing the effects of the inflation rate, right? And that's throttling back the economy.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. As soon as our economy gets anywhere near under some modicum of control, those interest rates are going to drop like a rock because Jerome's got to keep it going. And we said it a couple of times, but here's what this looks like. Okay. So middle of next year, this is my prediction. And we'll see in a year whether I'm right or wrong. Here's my prediction. Fed's going to drop the interest rates rapidly, probably 2 full points or 200 basis points over the course of 2 quarters, 6 months, right? We are going to see people run into the economy and buy homes because you've got a bunch of leases coming up, usually in that mid-year range anyway, and they're going to get shell-shocked with what they got to pay on the lease. So they're going to be just like, shoot, I got to go buy a house. Oh my gosh, look, interest rates are back down to 4.5%. They're not 6% anymore. Yeah, let's do this thing. And then it's going to continue to push real estate prices, if not up, at least maintain them.
Interesting.
And I do think it's going to go up. I honestly think that then the second half of next year, real estate values will go up 5 to 7%.
Well, we still have an inventory problem.
And because we still have an inventory problem. We have an inventory problem for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
One, our interest rates went up. So now, Austin, I mean, I can tell you mine. Right now, on mine, I'm at a 2.65 interest rate. What are you at?
Yeah, 2.5, I think, actually.
Okay. And we're entering the zone where you and I, age range wise, would be buying effectively our 3rd house in our life to live in. Fair enough?
Sure.
In our life, with kids your age, is that house bigger or smaller than what you got? Is it more expensive or less expensive?
It would definitely be more expensive. I don't know if it'd be bigger, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got the idea. Yep.
Yeah. So let's say you've got an average. You got the mortgage calculator?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah. Watch this, guys.
Uh,
We're going to do some fancy footwork as to why home values are not going to go down. So, Austin, let's
you
just
got
say,
there?
yep, I can see it down there. Let's add to stream.
Okay.
Check this out, guys. So let's pop in the number 300,000. So Austin
300,000.
is your average Metro Detroit person,
Yep.
right? It's just your average homeowner, right? Has a current valuation on his home of 300,000, which is the average second time home for people of our age range.
Well, that's what I owe, right?
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's what you owe. You're right, right.
Yeah,
So the home is worth 370, but 300
I owe 300.
is the mortgage amount. What is the monthly payment on 2.75%?
2.75. But
So
you
we're
had
seeing
12.4 plus taxes and insurance. So
Sure,
call
sure,
it
sure.
1,800.
Yeah, 1,800.
Okay.
Now check this out. Austin has two littles, and those two littles are going to get to be two bigs, right?
Yeah.
Just that's the way it happens. I mean, that's circle of life. We all saw that. We saw the dinosaurs and we do you remember that? Do you remember the song Circle of Life?
Do I remember the song? You guys, we do a quarterly all team advance
Circle
with
of
the
Life.
whole team. Circle of Life. I did a speech on the Circle of Life last
It was
one.
good. It was good.
So yeah, I know the Circle of Life. Anyway.
Yeah. So
By the way, Elton
here's
John
the-
wrote that. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you. Fun fact, you guys. Elton John wrote that in 30 minutes.
which
Like
is
just
craziness, by the
2
way.
hours or something. It was like 2 hours. Sorry. Wrote
And
it
he
in
won
2 hours.
awards for that song too, like an Emmy or something, didn't he?
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
So, all right. So Austin says, you know what? I've got two littles. They're going to become too big. I want a different yard. I want this. I want this. I want this. Whatever. Right. And generally speaking, when people upsize, they upsize about 60 to 70% of whatever the current value is. Right. So in this case, he would go from a $300,000 property or a 375 property to a mortgage amount of 500,000.
Okay, I see what you're doing here. So I'm buying a $600,000 home and I've got a $500,000 mortgage.
Yeah. And you're putting about 100 grand down on it. Let's call it.
Great. Okay.
Now let's put the interest rate up at 5.5%, which is where it was at the beginning of last week.
5.5.
So look at this. So now, and your taxes and insurance go up as well. So that 1,800 payment, or let's just call it for sake of simplicity, $1,224 payment, just in principal and interest, is now going to go up over double to $2,800.
Yeah.
$2,800. Guys, this is why we have an inventory problem. Because
the Pothast probably aren't moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's number one. Number one reason why we have an inventory problem is because Austin and me, who should be moving or would be moving about this stage of our life, looked at it and said, we're going to add $1,600 per month. No. I still got to do the diaper thing. I still got to, do the daycare thing. Really? No, forget it. We're going to stretch this house a little bit longer. We're not moving. So now, Austin, your house at 375 doesn't go on the market.
Yeah.
Right? And that means the guy that owns a home at 200 or 180 that wants to buy your house, two things are happening there. One, he's not going to buy your house because it's not available. And two, he's probably removing himself from the market as well. Right? Because he's looking at that at that same number on his level. This is a guy that's, let's call it 30 or 32, first kid, wants that second house, or gal, and is looking in the mirror and saying, shoot, my payment's currently $800 on my property without taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
And they want me to raise it to $1,800 and my wages haven't moved? Nope, I'm good.
Yep.
Which is putting more pressure on because now you've got institutional investors entering into the Michigan space because our economy is very stable, right? That's where Opendoor wants to go. That's where that's where Wall Street wants to go, is stable economies, because they're looking for long-term investments.
Yep.
So there's another pressure coming in from the outside where Wall Street is trying to buy Main Street and then lease it back to us.
Yep.
Right? Because here's the thing.
Yep.
When the interest rates go up, it's not that homes dump on the market and people sell because they're afraid or whatever that looks like. That's not what happens. Home values go down when the supply exceeds the demand, and the supply only exceeds the demand in times of high unemployment, which we had in 2007, 8, and 9.
Which we don't have now.
Nope.
Not even close.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, What we do have though is we've got a pretty beat up stock market, which has gone through an amazing recovery. I mean, July was amazing, right?
Yep.
And stocks are still on sale. We're
Still on
still
sale.
over 100%, right? It dropped. Nasdaq dropped 20%. We're back up to about a 6-7% drop, depending on which stock it is you're looking at, and all those things. I mean, some of those like Netflix or Peloton, which just got like crushed, right, are dragging that down. But if you look at it, like, dude, I pulled up my Microsoft stock. I'm still positive.
Yep. Apple, I've done very well with Apple.
Apple, yeah. So,
You know where I've gotten, killed is Rocket. Holy
yep,
cow.
yep. So mortgage.
By the way,
Okay,
you saw that their profits dropped 92% year over year.
yep.
See that?
And I'm gonna be upfront with you. Yeah, 92% profit drop. Now, I'm going to be upfront with you guys here. Real estate companies and mortgage companies are being massively devalued right now.
Rapid.
Massively. Yep. I mean, and you can look at any of these guys. Look at EXP Holdings. Look at Compass. Look at Realogy, which is renaming
Redfin.
themselves Anywhere,
Yep.
which is weird. I mean, this is the reason. Okay, so Gary Keller with Keller Williams had gotten this guy in, very nice guy, who to consolidate KW Holdings under what was called KWX, consolidate these companies together. And what he does and what he's been doing for the past 30 years is he has been bringing companies to IPO. He's done it 7 times so far. They let him go last month. That's an indicator of where Gary Keller, who's a very smart human being, believes our economy is as far as IPOing goes in the real estate space. Right? Like if this guy thought he was going to get valuations of some of the other companies that are publicly traded, like Remax, let's call it 18 months ago, he would
Yeah.
be all over getting this thing public as fast as he can. But now he's looking at it and saying, well, shoot, real estate and mortgage company valuations are down 60, 70, 80%. Look at Redfin stock year over year, down 45%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying these are good buys because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think they're good buys. I don't think real estate and mortgage companies are great stocks to own. I just don't.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which sucks because I'm a realtor, so I probably should think they're great stocks to own. Honestly, I really think you get yourself into a good mutual, a good S&P fund, a good SP 500, good Russell 5000, and you just ride
I've
that
been
thing.
doing with my portfolio. It's a lot of S&P. It's a lot of dividend holdings, right? Paying a dividend, and it's a lot of real estate, just like
Yeah,
good projects.
yeah. And I'll say, I'll be honest, I'm a dividend investor. And in this market, I'm also trending more towards being a growth investor. So more
Agreed.
funds, less individual stocks. This is, see if I can find this thing. And this will kind of cap this whole thing off. This is gonna happen. I'm gonna find it. Actually, I just thought of this slide and how much it actually makes sense right now. And instead of trying to like pull the data out of my memory, I would rather just get the slide and put it up on the screen. It's a really good financial planner. There we go. Got it. Okay. Now, how do I share screen? Share
Press your screen.
screen. Okay. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing your email.
Oh, you're
Like
seeing.
a cat thing. So
There
yeah,
we
there
go.
you go.
Is that
There you
better?
go.
Okay.
Yep.
Check out this slide right here. Oh, there it
By
is.
the way, this personal finance club guy is great.
Yeah, he's good, and he makes a lot of more complex investing things theories more simple, right?
Yep.
So check this out. This is every time the market has fallen from 1950 to essentially today. This is what recessions look like, guys. Recessions look like an upward trend over a long period of time. Like this is where we're at. Don't pull out of these funds. Don't pull out of the stock market. Blah 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 blah. Because honestly, guys, look at this. Every single time this happens, every single time we have a pullback, people say, "Oh, it's different this time. It's going to be real bad. It's going to be terrible, terrible," and it's not.
I also heard a stat, Mike, like something like 6 out of the last 8 recessions, real estate prices went up.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Right, right?
And
Is that the right 6 out of 8, I think?
that is right.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I've also accurately predicted 11 of the last 9 recessions. So we never know when it's coming, guys. But what we do know is values keep going up, whether it's real estate or whether it's stock portfolios, values keep going up. So these are 12 of the most popular index funds in the United States. So a lot of people get hung up on what should I invest in the market, right?
Yeah.
Which funds are there that I should be investing in? And these ETFs and mutual funds are more specifically covering the S&P 500 or the Russell 5000, right? So this is a basket of stocks, a snapshot of the American market, right? The whole GDP, right? Not one individual stock. Like at one point in time, all of these funds owned Kodak, right? Now, if you own Kodak or Blockbuster on an individual stock basis, my belief is it's a very fundamental economic construct that over a long enough period of time, 100% of stocks go to zero value,
Sure.
right? What we're paying these funds to do, and yes, we are actually paying them, is to move away from Kodak and Blockbuster and move to Netflix or something else, right?
Yeah.
And just do it seamlessly where we don't even see it happen because I don't really care. Right? Because I want to go live my life. I want to go, I want you to spend time with the kids. I want to spend time with my family. I don't want to have to sit here and pick apart each individual stock. Now, here's the interesting thing. There we go. So this is a list, and I have an additional list of more of them, by the way, of the lowest cost mutual funds or ETFs that are in the S&P, that cover the S&P 500.
It's funny, I own like 3 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I did too. And then when I saw the
You
slide, I actually
you own those?
bought the other
I know,
3.
I was like, "Let me go buy some more."
Yeah, yeah, and happy to share this stuff and share all the information on this with anybody. Shoot me a DM, I'll get this all into your inbox, right? Um, but this is where we're at, man. Like we saw what it looks like over the last 50 years with what the actual markets look like. If you pull back enough, it's always an upward trend. Never goes down. Only goes down on a temporary basis. So for your retirement funds that look like they just got beat to crap, the answer is stay the course, buy more, continue with your monthly or quarterly investing, whatever that looks like for you. For me, I try to do it weekly and here's the reason, because pinpricks to me are easier to manage than boulders, right? So if I'm saying, okay, I want to put personal finance club, good call, Cody. So he's on both Facebook and Instagram. He's got accounts you can follow on both, right? And he does a nice overview post like once or twice a week. He puts this stuff together. Keeps
Yeah.
us pretty informed on an overarching level of what's happening. But where I was going with it is, so there are a lot of people that say, "Hey, I want to put $10,000 into my retirement account." But it can be really difficult to go and get $10,000 and move it into a retirement account, right? You keep kicking the can down the road because you got to go get Starbucks, because you got to go get gas, because you got to
Yeah,
get groceries,
sure.
and the account's never at that level. So there are a lot of people that say, "Great, I'm gonna do it on a monthly basis." That $10,000 is still $833 a month. I think that's still hard, personally. But if you're doing it on a weekly basis, you're talking about $215 a week, $220 a week, or whatever that is. I think that's a little easier to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it set up, and this is the way I have it set up. I have it set up as a auto withdrawal every single week to move the money from one account to another. And because it's 52 times a year that I've divided this whole thing down to, essentially I'm paying my electric bill 4 times a month is how I look at it. I'm paying my cell phone bill 4 times a month. A lot easier to manage. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Yeah. If it's $10,000, it's $192 a week. A lot easier to manage, guys. So moral of the story is
And you basically double your money on those once every, what, 7 years?
7, 8 years, yeah. So let's say you're 40 years old and you're going to retire at 65. You've got 3 more cycles, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because I've actually been looking at this. So if I
But you
put 10,000
have
in,
double
I
it.
want to get
But
30,000
you have
out.
double it. Yeah.
Yeah. So moral of the story, kids, is don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, invest in the S&P.
Yep. Yeah, that is literally the moral of every story. Invest in the S&P and invest in yourselves with wealth building, right? The number one determiner of wealth in the United States is what?
Homeownership.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Because you're getting a couple of different monetary bonuses there. Like where rents are right now, and rents are going to continue going up a minimum 5% per year every year. Where rents are right now, it is still a better option to buy versus rent, right?
Yeah.
3 reasons. You're paying down the home, you're getting the mortgage interest deduction, right? So that's a couple 6, 7,000 bucks that's a push in your favor every year, which you don't
Yep.
get as a renter.
Yep.
And over a long enough period of time, all real estate values go up. We know
Yep.
this. All right. My dad asked me the other day, he's like, "Hey, how's the real estate market?" I'm like, "Why? You thinking about selling?" "No." "Then who cares?
Then who cares? Leave it alone.
What
You
does
got
it
to
matter?"
live somewhere.
Yeah. Like they're redoing a portion of their bathroom right now to make it more accessible for my mother to get in and out of the bathroom and whatnot,
We've
right?
been redoing that damn bathroom for 2 years.
I know, I know. Well, and they finally getting it done. They're finally getting close. They actually have workers like doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so like they're extending the life of that house by another 5 to 7 years for them. So what does it matter if the home values go down 10% next year and then they go back up 20% over the next 4?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, guys. Right? We don't live in a home in 1 or 2 year cycles. We live in a home. Americans live in their homes on a 13-year cycle. That's what it is. And that's all I got, my friends. And
Dude, we
thank you
covered
for
a
hanging
lot
out with me
today.
this week.
We know that Mike has a $6 a day Starbucks habit.
Yep.
We know that we call it board shorts.
Yep.
We know. No, it's just interesting. It's really interesting, some of the conversations that you're having. I think with the way rates are, I think the next, call it back to school, the next 45 days, it create a really cool opportunity to buy a house. If I have my home on the market right now and I'm a seller, uh, I and I'm not selling, right? It's like it hasn't moved yet.
Yep.
I'm probably exploring a 5% correction before that turns into a 10% correction. And just
Agreed.
staying in front of it. And it's like,
Yeah.
let's not split hairs. You're still going to do very well on the home.
Well,
You get,
and
go ahead.
yeah, unpack that a little bit. Like okay, the stock market. We're always trying to time it to buy at the bottom and sell at the
Yeah,
top, right? The real
yeah,
estate market, we're always trying to time it, but you can't time it. And close is close enough. Like I bought Tesla stock, right? I've done very well on Tesla. Did I buy it at the very bottom? No.
yeah,
Yeah, I got it 20% or 3% off of the bottom. And even though I missed the mark by 20 or 30%, I still doubled my money,
yeah.
right? You can't time the purchase at the
Can't
very
time it.
bottom.
Yeah,
You can't time the sale at the very top. But what we can do is say, hey, listen, because of life events that are happening in your life, don't let the market stop you at this point. If you're a seller, get onto the market. It's still great. We're still getting great offers and prices are still high. If you're a buyer, get into the market because you need those write-offs on your taxes. You need to start creating wealth for you and your family on a monthly basis through a payment, paying that off. And guys, home values are going to go back up again next year anyway. All right, Austin, take us home.
well, anyway, like I said, I wouldn't try to time this thing. And so if I were on the market and I weren't selling, I would be staying in front of it. If I were a buyer and I was trying to time the market, cool. Next 60 days. There you go.
That's it, guys.
That's
60.
the timing of the market. I think based on what Mike is saying, here's the other thing. If I were someone that was holding on to credit card debt right now, you had an extra little bit of money and you were trying to figure out, do I put that money in the bank account or do I pay down my debt? I would pay down my credit card debt because I think you're looking where your credit card rate is even going to go up more. Like I think at one point, I think this time last year, the average credit card rate was probably 11 or 12%, somewhere in there, 10 to
Yeah.
12%. I think the average credit card rate right now is more like 18%.
Yep.
In the max APR in the state of Michigan, I think they allow is 28.9.
Yep.
So if I were someone and I had a little extra money, I would make sure that I paid off my credit card debt. If you were trying to figure out the stock market, I would chip away at it a little bit. Every little bit counts. You're going to double your money every 7 years anyway. You can put it in some low cost S&P 500, and you don't have to be some kind of financial guru. Just get that shit into the market and allow it time to take its task, especially if you're listening to this right now and you're under the age of 30. Like, just get what you can every single week or every single month and let time do the work. And I know you've heard that advice, but like, for real. And I think overall that's, you know, and I think the economy continues to do surprising things. So all predictions guaranteed to be wrong until next time, right? I mean,
Right.
it just continues to surprise us. So we've got to take the information as we go, deliver it back to you guys. I don't think we're going to see a major correction in the state of Michigan, even if we see layoffs. I think for the most part we're a destination. I actually heard a stat that the Traverse City has the highest percentage of millennial millionaires of any city in America.
In the entire country. Millennial millionaires are going to Traverse City.
Yeah.
And they ain't going there for the cherries.
Right.
Clearly, because they're actually having a very bad cherry year. I just saw that in the news. They're going there for, the water, the sun, and the beaches and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, pencil in the second Saturday of next month. We are going to be back on this thing. I want to make sure we're covering the next job report, because that's going to be the one, the inflation, that's going to be the one that's going to determine this. But preview for the next time. Also, I'm going to start bringing in one solid tip per month where you can reduce your tax burden, your tax liability. There are only 3 major ways to get rich or make more money in this country. And, well, 4 really. You can invent something. I'm not smart, so that's not going to happen. You can play sports. I'm 5'10". That's not going to happen. You can make more money, which is hard to do. Honestly, it's hard to increase your wages, or you can pay less taxes. We want to help you guys start paying less taxes.
Yeah.
There are a couple
I'm
really
excited about that. I downloaded that book you told me to read.
Did you?
Yeah. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, dude, I've been through the book twice already, and I've ordered 3 more on taxes, because some people, and this is interesting. So some people look at not paying taxes as like avoiding a civic responsibility or anything like that. Our tax code is actually written and predicated on what the government wants the private sector to do. They want the private sector to create affordable housing for people, so they give credits for it. They want certain areas called opportunity zones to be revitalized, so they give additional credits and additional discounts for that. Right, we're gonna start diving into those, because there's some really cool ways there that small adjustments can save you a lot of cash on the back end on taxes. Yeah, and that is all I got, my friends.
Well, I got. It's a good job today, Mike.
Good job by you. Thanks, Austin.
All right, see you guys.
See you in a month.
See you in a month.